Good morning and welcome to Better Thyself segment of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. I have been receiving a number of messages whenever I talk about mindfulness that are inquisitive and do require certain explanation. I'm often asked, is it possible to be mindful at work? Of course it is. Mindfulness is an attitude that makes you overcome your disabilities and exploit your abilities to the maximum. That's what I mean to be mindful. And despite my fear things, being mindful is the best way not only to face pain, which impedes even my speaking at times, but also to keep my mind and brain alert. And my wife often says that this is what keeps me going. The question then asked is how to be mindful at work is difficult. It needs a lot of discipline, lot of willpower, and a lot of dedication to keep yourself alive. When I say alive, I do not mean just exist, but to be assertive, to be able to do what you want to do. And to be mindful of content, self, and good dynamics is really the key to innovate. And innovation is most creative. And practicing mindfulness at your work is not only your own well-being, although that's very important, but it enables you to be an effective collaborator, an effective teamwork. And the secret to successful collaboration, that's the most important thing, is ability to be mindful at work. And mindful at work means you have to be at three places at the same time. Now, this is the crucial part. We always say live in the present, yes. But to be mindful of work, you have to be at three places at the same time. You have to be immersed in the content of conversation. What is happening? You have to be very careful about that. But you have also to be observing what you are bringing to that conversation, to that place. And not only to that place, but to the complete overall group dynamics. Put another way, you have to be mindful of content of yourself and group at the same time. I had once talked of the 7 balls you keep on juggling to be successful in life, to keep a balance in life. And to be mindful at work, you have to have 3 balls. Let not even one ball slip your hands. One hypothesis that I have is about the future of innovation. And I personally feel that will be accomplished by small teams, not by large teams. And it's not that the small teams are not going to deliver disruptive innovation, but they won't account for much of the innovation we see. Innovation requires multiple teams of highly skilled, specialized people, one tier above the other. And when you are mindful at work, You are a part of those teams, but your thinking transcends those teams. And while transcending, it penetrates into arena of the other team, so you have a much wider view than an ordinary person would have. So these teams have to work seamlessly, no matter what the job is, no matter what the function is, no matter what the industry is. So to become one of the most successful skills of the team, you have to be a leader or a member of the innovative thought. And until and unless you are able to combine your vision, which encompasses you, the work, the place, you cannot do it. So that's mindfulness. The three places that you occupy at work are often ignored. For better or worse, meetings are where the visceral collaboration happens. They are fraught with the perils of a different perspective. It's very easy to date when you're in a meeting, you're discussing something, you're in a seminar, you're in a workshop, you're in a training session. It's easy to daydream. And I've seen people checking their emails instead of being fully present. They have their cell phones with them and they're checking emails or sending messages, receiving messages. That's not being mindful. So the most important thing is to be fully involved. And when you're fully involved, you forget other things. Accept the environment around and the people. So these three are the major components. You are an energy that has to be brought to the conversation. If you are listless, if you are lethargic, you cannot contribute. And that means, are you respecting others' opinions? Are you sure you are right? Are you frustrated or angry? Are you upset even if you are not? Or you maybe are looking upset? Or have you checked out because people are talking over each other's and you think it's a useless thing, it's a useless exercise? Are you avoiding saying something because you don't want to disagree with your boss? So these thoughts basically determine your persona. I, as an employee, was never afraid to disagree with the boss and hold my ground. And that's what enabled me to assert myself, to let my views, but without being obnoxious. You can always disagree without being disagreeable. Secondly, what's your mental state? Are you making the effort to progress and innovate easier or more difficult? There's a second stage. So first is the energy that you bring. Second is your mental state. Are you in a positive state of mind? And are you really inclined to contribute? Third is the dynamic of the group. Notice who is talking and who is not. Be careful. I mean, say, when the people say, well, why should you concern about what others are? No. Each one of you in the group, each one of you in the group has to contribute. And if you notice somebody is not contributing, you need not point it out, but you can keep a note that he is detracting. And that person, he or she, has to be avoided. You notice who is talking, who isn't, who seems to be angry, who seems to be passionate, who looks tired, what side conversations are happening, who is on the laptop or on the cell phone and paying no attention. That would help you gauge the tenor of the group. Does it feel like a team? Are the people frank enough to discuss their thoughts? Is there excitement? You know, the one thing I find amusing is a friend of mine usually calls me, gives me the news and then says, "Are you excited?" And my response always is no. Because what people are excited about is those things which have nothing to be excited about. I'm excited when China invents nuclear fusion. I'm excited when Elon Musk takes aircraft to the space. I'm excited when the largest floating solar cell is involved. But I'm not excited to see a chinua in the arms of a lady, which has no relevance to me. So, to be mindful, you have to ensure that the group in which you belong to, the place you are working, the work that you are doing, is an integrated self, is an entity. And the people over there bring definitely something, but something different. And then, most of the people have a tense one-to-one meeting. So all those things have to be considered, the human element. There has to be healthy conflict and debate. And you are mindful if you contribute to that. Mindfulness does not mean closing your eyes and taking the name of God. No. Mindfulness means you absorbing everything like a sponge and then releasing them in a more balanced manner. Most important is remember to be present. Don't be on the edge of the seat all the time, wondering what will happen next. If this is not happening, then there's something wrong. So remember to be present. One of my favorite saying is, are you remembering that you are sitting? Are you remembering what you are hearing? Are you remembering that you are walking, that you are walking? So one thing is remembering. Remember each and everything people are talking about. Absorb it. Then when your mind shifts, you start daydreaming. You forget you are doing those things and you lose awareness and you are no longer mindful. So be present, active involved. Many times we have a preference to go out of the three places. And the moment you go out of the three places, you get lost and lose the presence. Just a second, please. I most often let go of the content, completely focused on the outcome of the discussion. As I'm focused now, pain has no meaning. Forget to notice, and I do that. But people are not responding. But some people go to the self, and the self is opposed to self-awareness. Now, there's a two status of the self, and awareness of the self are two different things. So, most important is don't get lost. Don't be uncomfortable with the conflict. Take it. So, some of the techniques which have worked for me can work for you. Before you go to any work, think what you are going to say. Focus on the intention. And remember that you have to be at three places. One self, three places, all coordinated. It's like a triangle. You are at the center of a triangle, radiating energy on one side and all the energy coming back to you. Second, use triggers to pull out of your default. By default, you may be lazy. By default, you may be aggressive. By default, you may be angry. By default, you may be quiet. Whatever. But come out of your default. There is something, someone you might think might derail the meeting, and when that person speaks, use the trigger to go to all three: who you are, where you are, and why you are. And another thing, use the buddy system. When you're working and you're mindful, then your mind is going. Ask a buddy to slap you on the back and bring you back to the reality. That will enable you to be mindful. And set a time to go off every few minutes. It can just reminder vibrates, tell you to breathe, remember, and then every time you do, you are doing something. Notice, move in the direction of collaboration rather than conflict. Notice when the decision is made, which is not optional. Remember, your ideas are impersonal and they will relate to work. Our biggest problem, a hindrance to the mindfulness work, is that we do not think aggressively. That's what we have to do. And without mindfulness, everything you do on the softer side of creativity and innovation and collaboration is just bullshit. Intellectual knowledge that you have and you struggle to present and implement enhances your ability to be mindful, and your mindfulness enhances your intellectual ability. Don't ever forget that. They are dependent on each other. But if you have the three key ideas in mind all the time when you're working, who you are, where you are, and why you are there, you will be successful and a better person. Thank you.